For decades, it was nothing more than a chilling whisper, a dark tale confined to the fringes of conspiracy theories. The very idea of a government agency secretly trying to control human minds, to manipulate thoughts and bend wills, seemed too outlandish, too sinister to be true. It felt like something ripped straight from the pages of a spy thriller, a fiction too disturbing to ever exist in our reality. But the truth, when it finally began to claw its way into the light, proved to be far more disturbing, far more real than any fiction we could have imagined. This was the terrifying reality of Project MK Ultra, a clandestine program of illegal human experimentation, conducted by the US Central Intelligence Agency, and its dark shadow still looms large, forcing us to confront uncomfortable questions about power, ethics, and betrayal. Today we're going to pull back the layers of secrecy that shrouded MK Ultra for so long. We'll explore how this program came to be, the shocking methods it employed, and the devastating, irreversible impact it had on the countless lives it touched. This is the story of how a nation, in its desperate quest for supremacy, turned its most dangerous experiments inward on its own people. To truly grasp the twisted origins of MK Ultra, we must transport ourselves back to the feverish paranoia of the early 1950s. The Cold War was at its absolute peak, and a profound fear gripped the nation. The US watched with growing alarm as reports emerged of Soviet, Chinese, and North Korean forces seemingly using sophisticated brainwashing techniques on prisoners of war. These were not just whispers, there was genuine concern that captured American soldiers were returning fundamentally changed, seemingly reprogrammed. This perceived threat, that the enemy had somehow unlocked the secrets to mind control and psychological manipulation, ignited a desperate and ruthless race within the CIA. The intelligence agency believed it simply couldn't afford to be left behind in this psychological arms race. This desperation pushed them to pursue any means necessary, to leave no stone unturned regardless of the ethical cost. And so in 1953, under the directorship of Allen Dulles, a program of unprecedented ambition and chilling disregard for human rights was born, Project MK Ultra. MK Ultra was far from a simple, contained experiment. It was a massive, sprawling endeavor, meticulously designed to be almost impossible to trace back to its true orchestrators. It operated as an elaborate umbrella over 150 individual sub-projects, each delving into a different facet of mind manipulation. To maintain absolute secrecy and plausible deniability, the CIA developed an intricate system of laundering millions of dollars through shell corporations and various front organizations. These covert funds then flowed discreetly to more than 80 universities, research foundations, hospitals, and even prisons across both the United States and Canada. This vast, decentralized network ensured that while many brilliant minds were involved in the research, the vast majority of them had no idea their work was being directly funded, directed, or ultimately exploited by the Central Intelligence Agency. They were unwitting participants in a sinister grand experiment, a hidden web spun across the nation, all aimed at unlocking the secrets of the human mind. The objectives of Project MK Ultra were as ambitious as they were deeply unsettlingly unethical. The CIA desperately sought to develop perfect truth serums that could unlock any secret during interrogations, rendering subjects incapable of deception. They aimed to create powerful drugs that could induce profound amnesia, effectively wiping away inconvenient memories or entire pasts. The program also explored ways to promote irrational thinking, to sow confusion and undermine an individual's mental stability. Perhaps most chillingly, they sought to cultivate absolute, unwavering loyalty in a subject, making them completely compliant to external commands. They aimed to exploit every single vulnerability of the human mind, pushing the absolute boundaries of what was considered possible in behavioral control. And in the darkest corners of their research, some goals even explored the grim possibility of creating programmed assassins, individuals who could carry out missions without conscious memory, moral qualms, or any awareness of their true puppet masters, all in the perceived distorted interest of national security. Perhaps the most infamous and widely recognized tool in MK Ultra's horrifying arsenal was the widespread and often entirely unwitting administration of powerful psychoactive drugs. LSD, or lysergic acid diethylamide, was a primary focus of the program. Subjects were covertly given incredibly high repeated doses, sometimes for days on end, all to observe its profound effects on perception, memory, and behavior. These experiments frequently pushed individuals into states of profound disorientation, intense paranoia, and even full-blown psychosis. But the CIA didn't stop at LSD. They experimented with a truly frightening array of other compounds, including heroin, mescaline, cannabis, scopolamine, and even PCP. Each substance was meticulously studied for its potential to control, incapacitate, or manipulate. These human beings were turned into unwitting test subjects, their consciousnesses forcibly altered, all in the cold pursuit of scientific and intelligence breakthroughs. The CIA's relentless pursuit of mind control extended far beyond just chemical compounds, delving into even more brutal and invasive forms of psychological torment. They deployed extreme electroshock therapy, pushing it far beyond any therapeutic levels.
Patients, often already vulnerable or mentally ill, were sometimes forced into drug-induced comas before being subjected to intense currents designed to depattern their minds, an attempt to literally wipe clean their personalities and memories. Intensive sensory deprivation was another cruel tool. Subjects were isolated in dark, soundproof rooms for extended periods, aimed at inducing hallucinations, profound disorientation, and heightening their suggestibility. These methods, often combined with techniques like hypnosis, frequently enhanced with drugs, aim to utterly break down a person's reality, making them more pliable, compliant, or capable of acting without conscious resistance. The goal was total psychological subjugation. Perhaps the most morally reprehensible aspect of Project MKUltra was its cold, calculating, and widespread use of unwitting human test subjects. These weren't volunteers. They were ordinary US and Canadian citizens, psychiatric patients already institutionalized, vulnerable prisoners, and even marginalized individuals like sex workers. They found themselves caught in this clandestine web, subjected to unimaginable physical and psychological trauma without a shred of consent or prior knowledge. Their human rights were completely discarded. These individuals were reduced to mere human guinea pigs, and their lives were often irrevocably altered, their minds deeply scarred by a government program that viewed them as disposable objects in the relentless pursuit of intelligence breakthroughs. The violation of trust, especially by institutions meant to heal or rehabilitate, was profound. The human cost of MKUltra was devastating, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and profound, often permanent harm. One of the most tragic and well-known cases is that of Frank Olson, a brilliant U.S. Army biochemist. In 1953, he was unwittingly dosed with a large amount of LSD during a secret CIA meeting. Just 9 days later, disoriented and suffering, he tragically plunged to his death from a 10th-story window in New York City, a death initially ruled suicide but decades later revealed to be far more sinister, the result of CIA negligence and cover-up. Across the border in Canada, under the guise of pioneering mental health treatment, Dr. Ewan Cameron, a prominent psychiatrist largely funded by MKUltra, subjected patients at the Allen Memorial Institute to horrific depatterning experiments. This involved prolonged extreme electroshocks, drug-induced comas, and continuous playback of looped audio messages, often leaving his patients with permanent amnesia, profound incontinence, and severe lasting psychological scars. These were not isolated incidents, but chilling examples of a systemic abuse. For 2 decades, MKUltra operated in the deepest shadows, its existence unknown to the American public. But as the Watergate scandal tightened its grip on the Nixon administration in 1973, then CIA Director Richard Helms, fearing exposure of the agency's illegal and unethical activities, issued a fateful order: destroy all MKUltra files. Most records were indeed incinerated, a devastating act that severely hampered future investigations and denied countless victims the full truth and any hope of justice. Yet the truth, as it often does, found a way out. In 1975, brave investigative journalist Seymour Hersh broke the story in the New York Times, igniting a firestorm. This led directly to the pivotal Church Committee investigation in the U.S. Senate, which, despite the destroyed documents, painstakingly pieced together enough evidence to finally lay bare the program's horrifying details, confirming its existence and shocking the American public. The revelations of MKUltra sent shockwaves not just across the United States but globally. It exposed a profound level of government misconduct and a deep fundamental betrayal of public trust, leading to widespread national outrage. While some victims and their families later sought and received financial settlements, compensation could never truly undo the profound physical and psychological damage inflicted upon them. Crucially, the program directly led to the implementation of significantly stricter ethical guidelines for all human research, both within government agencies and the wider scientific community, emphasizing informed consent. Yet its chilling shadow undeniably lingers. Project MKUltra serves as a stark, permanent reminder of what can happen when power goes unchecked, and when the pursuit of perceived national security overrides fundamental human rights and ethical considerations. It compels us to ask difficult questions: where do we truly draw the line between security and individual liberty, and what constant vigilance is required from us, the public, to ensure such abuses are never ever repeated?